Hello, everybody. Welcome to Clash of the Correspondents. My name's James, and we're joined by two of our correspondents today, looking ahead to a big fixture in game week 4 that will finish our game week, actually. We are joined by Adam Hopcroft at A Hopcroft 13, our Aston Villa correspondent. How are you, Adam?
Yeah, great, particularly after the Barkley news today. That really did come out of the blue. So, yeah, I feel on cloud 9 at the moment. 2 wins out of 2. Could be a big season.
These clubs and their small hopes getting people on loan, right? We'll talk about this. And we're joined by Dan Lord at FPL Loco Lord, our Liverpool correspondent. How are you, Dan?
Yeah, I'm good as well, yeah. And yeah, you can have Ross Barkley. He's ex-blue. So.
You got to remember, he played for the opposition down the road, Adam.
Yeah,
So,
I know.
But go on then, let's start there, because that news obviously came as a shock. That was no rumours, no nothing, just bang, he's signed.
I saw last night that Villa representatives were meeting Chelsea, but I think it was Barkley, by the sounds of it, had ruled out going to Villa yesterday. Or that was the talk. But we were also in for Loftus-Cheek, but we could only sign one. So it was brilliant actually how Villa did it, because they did keep it quiet, and it was a nice surprise message that I got from a mate in the middle of a meeting I had today, saying I think the great thing for Villa is we have brought in 5 players. All of the 5 improve our starting 11. And on top of that, you've got obviously we had this, I suppose the Mings, McGinn, and Grealish were the 3 consistent ones that came up with, and then you had Konza and Louise really improving at the second half after post lockdown. So I think straight away, I think the business that we've done, we won't be in a relegation battle this year. I'm very, very confident saying that. We've got to manage our expectations, though, 'cause I think it's quite easy to get carried away.
You're going to win the league, though, aren't you? 2 from 2, no goals conceded, three Villa defenders in the FPL team of the season so far. It's on, isn't it, surely?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. I think realistically, I mean, the best I think we could hope for is a decent top half finish. And I think that's possible. I mean, whether we do that or not. And I think there's a couple of things that really, really go in our favour. I think that most teams will still look at Villa as a game they can win. And which means, and against Fulham, we got it spot on. We're just playing the counter-attack, and very few teams in the Premier League have that luxury with the quality that we've got, I think, anyway, because a lot of, the bigger teams, other teams will sit back against. And I don't think there are many teams below us that are going to have the likes of Grealish, Barkley, Ollie Watkins. I think Traore's played at a decent level. So we've got loads and loads of quality. And actually, we've got some pace. I think that is so important. We needed pace, more pace in the side. So I actually think, and I was critical of Dean Smith around Christmas time last year, and I remember us having the conversation. I wasn't sure he could adapt tactically, and I think post-lockdown he's been more pragmatic. The stuff they did on the training field's working. The Mings goal, there's an actual replica that Mings posted on Instagram of the goal they scored the day before in training. So he's really, really stepped up his game tactically, Dean Smith has. So yeah, on cloud 9 and excited at the moment. Hopefully we'll get 3 points on Sunday. Can't say that with a straight face.
No, and you shouldn't. we know it's an easy one. But Dan, if we can come on to you, during that restart period, Villa gave you some problems in that game. For me, it highlighted it kind of revolved a lot around Jack Grealish's position in getting around Firmino. Are you concerned about that sort of thing happening again, Dan? Or is it a case that you were so good Monday night, based on what I think we all saw, that it's just business as usual?
I'd like to think it's business as usual, but it wasn't just that one game you're referring to. We had 2 tricky games, really, against Villa. I mean, the score couldn't suggest that, but we made hard work of it both times. So I think Adam was just alluding to there that teams will kind of be a little bit unexpected of Villa putting in good performances. I don't think Klopp and Liverpool will, because they saw some decent performances from Villa last year. So I think they'll give them the respect they deserve, and that'll playing into our hands, hopefully, and not take them a bit too lackadaisical.
Yeah, we're saying, obviously, I'm referring to the league game at Anfield, but you're quite right. It was 2 late goals at Villa Park, wasn't it? Andy Robertson and Sadio Mane scored very late earlier in the season as well. Talk to me about, on that, Dan, Jota. Obviously, it's coming to the club. Another one that was kind of a surprise signing. It was on the Wednesday or Thursday. He turned up to play for Wolves, got told disappear, and the next day he was signing for you. And he obviously strengthens the squad. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But in cases like last year, we say the likes of Shaqiri and Origi, I don't think anybody thinks Jota's necessarily coming into the 11, but we're going to expect to see him getting 20, 25 minutes in the majority of games here, it feels. But is that how you feel about it?
I think it's a little bit different to the Shaqiri and Origi. They're kind of players that Klopp inherited, really. Whereas, Jota's someone he's identified, I suppose, or the system has identified him, and he seems to fit the mould. So I think it might be looking at, is Salah going to lead next year and they need a replacement, and obviously get him up to speed over the season, integrate him into the squad slowly. There's a few things, but I don't think he'll, he's still young, but I don't think he's going to settle for, a 20-minute cameo here, there, and everywhere. I think he'll be wanting to get into that side.
Is it something you've heard then on Salah potentially next summer, based on what you're saying now?
No, I don't know. It's just there's always talk in the background, and of the two, of Salah and Mane, there's always talk that Salah would be the one who seems to be less appreciated by the Liverpool fans, and therefore, it would be an easier move for Salah to go than Salah than Mane, because Mane's more loved, and nothing lasts forever, and Liverpool have got to evolve. They can't play the same way they're playing the whole time, otherwise eventually teams will get smart to it, and they have to change tactically, and if that means a little change of the system, then so be it.
On the love there, Dan, just for the people who might not have heard you before, why is that, in terms of Mane having more love from the support than this goal-scoring machine in Mohamed Salah?
I think it's a lot to do with what we see on TV as well, not we as Liverpool fans, but the FPL community. There's that greediness about Salah that gets the backup of Liverpool fans as well as it does everybody else in the FPL world. And it was a perfect example of it on the weekend when he took the ball off Jota, and Jota was in a much better position. And Mane is just he's. I mean, you saw his performance. He just doesn't stop. You know what I mean? And any fan base loves a player who gives 110% for 90 minutes, and you get that from Mane, but not always from Salah. And that's probably where it comes from.
Mane must be, if not the best defensive forward in the world, he must be very, very close to it. I mean, the defensive work Monday night against Arsenal, in terms of, we knew how Arsenal wanted to play through you from the Community Shield, their performance against Man City in the FA Cup semi-final. We knew what they kind of wanted to do to you, and Mane was all over it, especially. It's not to say the others didn't put work in, but you felt like every time it went in towards Mane's zone, he was going to win it as well. Top draw. Adam, you got a name check on the main podcast on Tuesday because of a stat that I saw you tweet about Mohamed Salah has had 0 big chances from open play so far this season. Was that a wise thing to tweet before they're about to play you, mate?
Oh, well, and he's playing against Matt Targett as well, who is the slowest. He's our weak link. And I think if we can bring in another left back, I think a lot of Villa fans would like that. No, it wasn't a wise thing to do, but yeah. I think I've always get a bit of stick for some of the stuff I put, because I'm a big Mane fan. I prefer Mane to Salah. And, the reality is they're both great options. But I do think that from the FPL community, unlike Liverpool fans, I don't think FPL fans give Mane the credit he deserves. I think it's probably more pro-Salah. So I think both Mane and Salah will cause us problems the weekend. I expect Villa to sit back. And I think, we will try and play on the counter. I think the big difference with Arsenal, we're not going to be trying to play out out of the press. I think we'll be trying to play more long diagonal balls, probably up to Watkins, who actually I think will give Van Dijk and Gomez. He will challenge them and make it difficult for them. I mean, he does put himself about, and he's quite good at working the channels. And I expect that's what we'll do. But I expect as well that both Salah and Mane will get a lot of space to run from deep, and I think Salah running at target, that's only going to go one way.
It's a really interesting dynamic. I think you're so spot on what you say about Mane and Salah in terms of the FPL community. It's almost the opposite theory of how Liverpool fans seem to feel. And I think it's just purely because Salah's numbers, right? Whenever you do a Salah-Mane comparison, if you just look purely at the numbers, generally speaking, it's hard not to go with Salah. You've mentioned before, Dan, you said it a couple of weeks when you were on with us about Salah's are just a little bit more capable of that explosion, isn't he? You never really get that feeling with Mane, like he can get you a hat-trick from an armband perspective. And even I went for Mane game week 1, even though everything statistically would point to Salah. Of course, Mane's going off now because I obviously give him the old Spanish archer. Absolutely predictable. I love him as a footballer. I thought the one person I thought was quiet and not involved, and I don't know if it was because of the tactics of the game Monday night, Dan, was Firmino, who obviously does a brilliant job for you and facilitates so much. Is there anything form-wise that's a concern with him at the moment? Because in the Leeds game as well, he had a couple of options, and he was like he was overdoing looking for the pass. Just shoot, mate. Is that fair?
Yeah, I wanted to mention it on this podcast actually. You know what I'm like. I'm Firmino's biggest fan. He's my favourite player. Well, I think Thiago might be taking over him now, he's definitely off the pace a long way. He's not offered anything. He didn't offer anything in the Arsenal game, and like you say, Arsenal, Leeds, he was poor as well, and he wasn't great either at Chelsea. So it wouldn't surprise me if we had a bit of a change of the system. And well, there's a couple of options they could do. I mean, they could play 4-2-3-1. And then either Salah or Mane play central striker, and Jota comes in on one side. And they could stay as they are. And I think Saki's probably in with a shot at getting a few minutes, because he's the like replacement for Firmino. Nobody else can do that role other than Saki's the more similar kind of player to Bobby. So it might surprise a few people to hear that, because he's been on the fringe, really hasn't really started. And I think tomorrow might give us a better idea of if that is a possibility at the weekend. If Taki starts and gets like half a game, 60 minutes, I really do think he might start if, from the weekend.
Just to clarify, Dan, Taki's Minamino, right?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. It's all right. You're allowed to speak about your own players like that, mate. It's absolutely fine. But one person, you mentioned this again a couple of weeks to us, Adam, a real player kind of went under the radar during the restart period. He's impressed me in the 2 games I've seen so far this season, albeit I think we'll come back to the 2 teams that you've played. Douglas Luiz in and around that area is becoming really, really important for you, isn't he?
He's absolutely brilliant, and I think post restart, during the isolation period, he put more time into learning the language, and he's a real leader on the pitch. And I think he controls the tempo. He helps us play out from the back when we do. He's just been absolutely brilliant. I think the other player who has really, really excelled is Konza. Konza is looking brilliant. I think I mentioned him actually on the pod and in this first game about his threat from set pieces. But Villa, I think in this game, our biggest, I think set pieces for both teams could be quite key, because I think we've both looked really good from set pieces. I think we've scored 2 goals. I think Liverpool are looking pretty decent as well. So I think set pieces will be really interesting. But yeah, I think both Konza and Luiz have improved so much, and it goes to show actually our signing. We've had a lot of stick about some of the signings we made last year. They just needed time. There are a couple of dud ones in there, but the likes of Konza, Trezeguet, Luiz have really come good.
Can I ask, on corners, Adam, do you normally mark zonal or man? Do you know?
I remember zonal. We tried. I think we tried man, and if you'd have seen it on Monday, you had like McGinn was right next to Mitrovic, but I think the key is to get Mings and Konza in position where they can get it cleared. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, the reason I mention that is becoming an increasing trait for the best aerial players to have a free run at the ball.
Yeah.
Arsenal did that against yourselves on Monday night, Dan, where they had, I think it was one occasion it was Tierney picked up Van Dijk, and another occasion it was Bellerin. Actually, Bellerin got up and got one away in front of him. And to be honest, if that was my team defense, it would shit my... Imagine Ben Davies marking Van Dijk. I'd shit myself, mate. I think he's got no chance. But it seems to be something that's coming more and more into the game. The flip of it is, if someone like Van Dijk gets a run at you, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah,
and I actually think the way a lot of teams are setting up at the moment, I actually think he's possibly in line to, I don't know, get 6 or 7 goals this season, possibly, actually, because, I mean, he's such a threat in the area. If the ball's right, like it was in the Leeds game, Dan, then he's going to score, isn't he? 9 times out of 10 if he gets his head there. Go on, Adam, sorry.
I was going to say, we mentioned on the Fantasy Football Hub pod that we recorded yesterday, we mentioned exactly that about Van Dijk. So I think Robertson and Trent are getting a lot of plaudits, rightly so, but Liverpool looks so dangerous from set pieces, particularly Van Dijk. And what you've said about how teams mark, it is becoming a bit of a trait at the moment. Because like I said on Monday, you had McGinn next to Mitrovic. Let's face it. That I think you like want your best header as attacking the space. And it works more often than not, but you look a bit silly, don't you, if you concede. So
I mean, if it was my team, I would want Eric Dyer marking Van Dijk, would be my feeling on it, because pound for pound, he's the best header we've got versus your best header. That's the way I would want to deal with it. But that's why I'm sitting here on a podcast and not managing football teams, I think. But with that in mind, Dan, you know me, Trent and Robbo, they'll sit there all season unless one of them gets injured or you have a serious loss of form, which you won't. I'm considering the treble up now is beginning to become a serious part of my thinking, and that's part why. That seeing Lacazette go through one-on-one on Monday night, I know that kind of thing is going to happen. It always feels like when your trap gets broken defensively, it always seems to be Trent that goes a little bit deeper, genuinely. But I think he'll learn. He's still young. We forget that. The treble up. I know you would probably rather leave that sideways for a Salah or Mane, but can I do it, mate? I want to do it. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, why not, mate? Why not? This is the thing that Twitter is like, oh, but Liverpool don't get clean sheets and Liverpool this, that, and the other. So what? They look like Robertson, Trent, and Van Dijk look like they could score or assist every single game, and then your clean sheet comes as a bonus.
Yeah.
Other than you get a clean sheet and your goal and your assist is a bonus, it's kind of the other way around with Liverpool.
You saw it
with returns.
I'm going to say Robertson, 8 attacking returns in his last 11 matches. Like you said, the clean sheets are a bonus, aren't they? That's incredible.
The thing is with Robbo and Trent, it always feels to me a little bit like Salah Mane. The worst thing you do now is look at them numbers and go and buy Robertson, because it'd be Trent next week.
You need to go for both, don't you?
I think most people will have one, and you tend to lean into Trent because one of the things we discussed the other day was the idea that Trent's got so much more variance, whereas Robertson, yes, the set pieces, yes, the late runs into box, and obviously going beyond Mane on the outside, whereas Trent is set pieces, free kicks on the edge, byline crosses, deep crosses, ball from the right back position. It's just a little bit more in the armory for Trent from an assist perspective, particularly, and also goal scoring with the taking of the free kicks and shooting from distance. That's why I think the majority of people would still lean into Trent. And Trent is a little bit more capable of the Leicester game, as we saw over the Christmas period, right? Robertson's not going to get you 4 attacking returns in a game, although I wouldn't mind if he did. But the reason I'm considering... Go on, Dan, sorry.
In addition to that as well, if you just look at the bonus points from the game as well.
Yeah, mad.
We didn't keep a clean sheet, and Trent only gets an assist and the booking, and he gets all 3.
Yeah.
And then Robbo gets 2.
And a lot of that's from chance creation with Trent as well. The sheer volume of what he's doing and stuff. But yeah, Van Dijk, to be honest, it's part that. It's actually the believing that he can offer a serious goal scoring threat this year. and potentially get 6-7 goals. That's another reason why I'm part considering it as well. Talk to me, Dan, about the midfield and where you see Thiago fitting in. He obviously missed Monday night. The second half performance at Chelsea's been, I think, a little overstated because they were down to 10 men and tactically they set up very badly at the start of that second half that just played into your hands in wide areas. So you just kept doing the TikTok thing that you say, get it, move it, get it, move it. But when you're all fit and you're playing against a side like Villa, for example, who are probably going to sit off you a bit more, how do you see the midfield three shaping up, ideally?
I think it'll depend on the opposition. So it depends on how defensive we have to be. And you know, we've got characteristics now in midfield of, you've got Keita who can break the lines a little bit more, and then you've got Gini and Hendo and obviously Firmino who kind of clean up a little bit but don't offer much else going forward. Henderson to a certain extent. Thiago's got a bit of everything. And I think if they stay as they are and Firmino gets his form back, then you're looking at a 4-3-3 as it is. And then I would ideally like to see probably Thiago and Firmino at the base, and then maybe Naby just in front. Or if Endo plays, then Thiago could actually, even though he's not played that role for a while, he could be the more central and more attacking of the three. But it can simply just be the two as well, or it could be the one and have two in front of him. He can play in any of them three positions, if you know what I mean, and he can do it well.
I think the one that's really restricted if you play the three is Fabinho. I think he's the one that has probably the one sole role of, I'm going to be deepest and central. I don't see Fabinho playing as the right-hand side of a three. I think Henderson, we've seen play that role great. I think Thiago can probably play it from the left of Fabinho. I suspect that's probably the strongest three. But I know what you're saying about the legs of Keita and also Wijnaldum, who just got a little bit more drive in their play, linking up. And I think even more so against sides that are going to sit off, if you're just going side to side, you need someone eventually who's going to break through different positions in a team. So I think it's kind of clear you're going to get a rotation here, aren't you?
I think Fabinho looked great at centre-back as well, didn't he? Particularly in some game. He played against Bayern, didn't he, last year? Was it last year or the year before? So he's, he looked brilliant. I mean, he was fantastic against Chelsea. And I just wondered, would they, because obviously probably on the ball he's going to be better than Joe Gomez. Not as quick, I'm guessing, but it'd be interesting to see in some matches if he does use Fabinho at centre-back.
I actually thought, Dan, after Mane, I thought Joe Gomez was your best player on Monday. I don't know if I was watching a different game to everyone else, but I just thought everything he did was exemplary, actually. And considering he'd obviously missed the Chelsea game, it was like he slotted back in there and no problem at all. So I feel like that's put aside the idea that Fabinho might be moving to centre-back. Or is there anything in that?
I hope not, and I didn't think that. I saw a lot of it around and people saying, this is how they'll set up, and Thiago takes Fabinho's role and Fabinho goes in the centre-half position. He's a waste there, in my opinion. He's such a good defensive midfielder that to put him as a centre-half when he's no better than Gomez is, and like you say, not as quick, probably a better tackler, but you don't really want him to be tackling there because then he's last man. You want him to be tackling in front of the two centre-halves. So I don't see him playing centre-half. I think he's there as a third, with Matip's kind of injury proneness, and then obviously selling Dejan to St. Petersburg. We're kind of a bit short there now, and I think he played in there to say, can you play there if you needed to? If we get some injuries, that's the only way I see him playing there, is if we get injuries and he has to, and he can do it well.
I hadn't realised, Dan, till someone pointed it out after game week 1 that you'd even sold Lovren. That'll save you a few points this season as well, I should imagine, mate. I mean, look, with Matip covering there, Fabinho can play there. You're kind of stocked in that position now. You've covered the left back, you've covered the forwards better with Jota. The squad looks stronger. I think there was a little concern going back before Thiago coming. It was like, well, are you going to do anything to re-energise this squad? But actually, another forward player in, one of the best midfielders in the world, cover at left back. The minimum's been sorted, essentially. Do you think there'll be any more business?
No, I don't think so. A lot of people saying about Salah from Watford, but I think they took Jota or Salah, to be honest. I don't think it's as well as. There'll be a few outgoings, I'm almost sure of that. Harry Wilson, Brewster, Grujic, a couple of the young ones. Will probably see. It won't surprise me if Origi went, Shaqiri as well. I think some of these are kind of, you know, they're on time really. With the likes of Jota coming in, and then obviously Thiago, Curtis Jones being integrated into the team now. I think these players are slowly getting pushed out and they're looking for moves away.
Yeah, great. I mean, you could look at it and go, there's a drop-off between strongest 11, which would be natural with a club like yours, down to what's in reserve and then the kids. But actually these kids now, the likes of Jones, Nico Williams, Harvey Elliott, they're all going to become more and more involved. So, I mean, it's for them to take regular places on that substitutes bench now, in my opinion. And I think you're right. I think we've seen with yourselves as well in terms of the reinvestment of, yes, sell players, move them on, then reinvest the money. So I think, yeah, you're right. The likes of Shariki, listen to me, Shaqiri, Origi, them hips, mate, that's the problem. We'll move on. And Brewster, we spoke about this. It's Sheffield United keeps getting mentioned again. You don't see that as an option from an FPL perspective, Dan, really, do you, if it happens?
Say again, sorry.
On Brewster, if he went to Sheffield United specifically, you don't think that would make him a great FPL option? Is that fair?
Yeah, I said that originally. I just don't think they're very attacking, and their style of play wouldn't suit the kind of player he is, which is really why he's not really getting a look in at Liverpool, because he's got all the potential in the world, you know, but he doesn't fit in. Taki Minamino is so much more like Firmino, you know, in the role he plays, whereas, you know, you're looking at he's a number 9.
It's not like for like.
And yeah, it's not like for like. We can't do that role that Firmino does if we need that, you know, whereas Taki will. Taki is that kind of player. And Jota could probably do it a lot better than Brewster could as a centre forward. I know he doesn't often play there. He's kind of to the side of Jimenez in the time at Wolves, but he'd be more suited to that than Brewster would be. So I think the idea of letting Brewster go and having the buyback option, and then, you know, is it a change of system if, as and when a new manager comes and they buy him back? Because they can't play this 4-3-3 forever, you know, on the clock. It's got to change at some point. The teams are just going to get wise to it and know how to stop it, aren't they?
Yeah, it's not working so far, Dan. Do you have to change? We spoke about evolution, I think, in the summer, and I think the next step of it is to integrate these kids into the team is the next step, rather than necessarily changing the system. Unless Robertson or Trent go, I don't see why you would ever want to change that system very often.
No, but it won't be there forever. And I think you've noticed as well, actually, just playing that system, for me, the way they took on Arsenal on Monday compared to the way they did it in the Community Shield, Klopp had already learned from his mistakes, and they did it so much better on Monday than they did in the. I know, you know, fitness has a lot to do with it, and it was early pre-season, but Naby was kind of the first man, really. He was the first press, and actually Firmino was behind Naby, and obviously Salah and Mane on the wings, and they went in that way instead and took Naby out of the game, really, and left a bigger hole there. And their actual goal came from Firmino just not pulling his weight a little bit behind, and that's why they got the opportunity. But you've got to be brave to do that. And
yeah, it's exactly what we spoke about.
You get your rewards.
You have to be brave and accept that you're going to get done sometimes. You have to break the press against you. Talking of forwards, Adam, let's talk about your new number 9, or should I say number 11?
Yeah.
Mr. Ollie Watkins. What's the thoughts on him so far?
I've been really impressed with him. I think last season we got the striker department completely wrong. I think Wesley will come good at some point, but both Samatta and Davis didn't really have the goals. And I mean, Davis causes problems, but I think with Watkins, he's got good movement. I think he's always involved. I think even against Fulham, I think he was desperately trying to score, but his movement is exceptional. He gets a lot of big chances as well in the 4 games he's had so far. He's got 5 or 6 big chances. So he had obviously one on against Fulham. They should have done better with the header, but he'll score. But he's a great outlay for the team. He causes defenders problems. He drags them out wide. He's actually quite good in the air as well. So I think he was the player that I wanted us to sign the most in the summer because of everything I've read upon him, about his attitude, his work ethic. And the encouraging thing is when you read the fans' forums about players leaving, a lot of the time people aren't necessarily that complimentary. But for Watkins, for Cash, for Martinez, everybody's speaking the opposition fans are speaking very, very highly of them. So I think he'll have a good season. I think it'll be in double figures for goals. But I think in terms of the work rate, you can see that the team really, really appreciate him. And I think he's particularly against Fulham, he brings out the best in Grealish. I thought particularly for that with the Hurahan goal, it was originally Watkins' run that set it up. So he's had a little bit of stick, I think, from a few people, but not from many Villa fans. I think we appreciate him, particularly after seeing Samatta at the end of last year, who was just like totally lost.
Not the only man to score in a cup final for you in a very, very long time, Adam, by the way.
That didn't last very long, did it, Samatta?
No, it was a short-term signing, and it was, I wouldn't say a panic buy, but we just didn't have, with the Wesley injury, we just didn't have any centre forwards, and it was they had a 10 million budget. It was the best they could get, and he did. In fairness to him, he put a shift in. He worked hard. He helped us out, and he did his job. He wasn't great, and I think his ability was limited. But I think on the other hand, I think Keenan Davis I really like as a player, and I think he'll, if he can just sort his finishing out, I think he'll be a decent option off the bench for us this season.
I feel like from what you said there, Adam, about them running off the ball on Watkins, that it maybe doesn't make him a good FPL asset. It feels like it's worth paying a bit more for the likes of Antonio's, Woods, and Maupay's at the moment.
No, I think he will be a decent asset once he scores. The thing that he is very, very good at, and particularly in the tough fixtures, of course he won't, but the thing he's very good at is getting big chances. He won't take penalties. I don't expect him to. I think that'll be Barkley now. I'd be surprised if it isn't Barkley.
What makes you say that? I saw you tweet that earlier as well.
Because when Chelsea were playing last season, he pretty much forced the ball. It was out of Jorginho's hands to take a pen. And I think for me, and I was pretty adamant that Richarlison would take penalties for Everton. I was in a bit of a Twitter debate on that. And what often it comes down to taking penalties, it's historic records have some bearing, but it's out of the players on the pitch who wants to take them the most. There'll be a few in it. And I think that's why Richarlison, I'd no doubts he would take them. And I think for Villa, Grealish has always been hesitant and reluctant to take them. And I think Barkley, he took a few at Everton, and he took a couple for Chelsea in a team full of penalty takers. So I'd be very, very surprised if he doesn't take them. Watkins, I don't think will. I think he's taken 4 in his career and missed 3. So I'd probably rather he didn't take them.
Okay.
But just going back to the big thing with Ollie Watkins is he gets a lot of big chances. If you look at his heat map for his goals last year, a lot were in the 6-yard box, and he scores all types. He scores a lot with his head, with tap-ins. So I think if we can create chances for him. And the goals he scored, the 2 goals he scored so far, both been tap-ins. He's missed a few absolute sitters as well. If you saw the chance against Fulham, probably should have scored that. So I think he could, 6 million could be an absolute bargain in FPL wise. And with the better players around him, hopefully he'll get the chances. But I think he has that added thing that he's not just going to score goals. He's going to also work his socks off for the team. And I think, obviously, on Sunday, that is going to be really, really important because he probably won't get loads of chances, but we're going to need him as an outlet. And I think we will use him as an outlet. We're definitely not going to be playing out to beat the press. That'll only end one way, and it won't be.
We remember the Man City game in January, mate. Don't do that again.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. But I think that's where Smith has become quite pragmatic, because even if you listen to his interview, after the Fulham game, he's talking about we expected Fulham to have more possession. He's not trying to. He just, if there was like perfect, we will set up, counter attack them, get loads of opportunities, and we're 2-0 up in 10 minutes. So it's. I think, like I said, tactically, Smith is really, he's adapted to Premier League level, and he wasn't, he wasn't at the early part of last season. So, yeah, I think a lot of reasons to be optimistic, probably after this Sunday, though.
Where do you see Barkley coming in? Because the general assumption is, right, Hourihan.
Yeah, he will,
Is that, or you don't see Grealish coming inside and Barkley going and playing out there, or potentially a slight change of system to a 4-2-3-1?
So I don't think, and I think what's quite good now, we've consistently been playing this 4-3-3, and I think that will continue to happen. Louise is perfect in front of the back line. McGinn has started to hit some form. If you saw, that's Zinedine Zidane's skill the other day was incredible. And I think Villa were after two types of players. They were in for either an inverted left winger, in which case Grealish would have probably moved back, or they were after a number 8. And I think they tried to go for Milot Rashica. And I don't think he quite fancied coming to Villa. So I think they prioritised, we'll keep Grealish in that advanced position. I think I expect Grealish will continue to play further forward. And I think particularly with his first 2 performances, I've been critical of Grealish in the sense that I think the one thing that he needs to improve this season is he needs to score more goals.
He needs to do like the Fulham in behind.
Yeah,
trust other people to find him.
Yeah, exactly. That goal against Fulham was brilliant. But he, against Sheffield United, he got into some positions, and I think it was the one in particular where he went for the near post. He did exactly the same against Everton. He's got to score or do better with those, and that for me stops him from being absolutely elixir. His decision making 9 times out of 10 is good. He draws players in, he creates chances, he gets into great positions, but he just needs to, if he can get into double figures for goals, I think that puts him, particularly if he's playing in that position. So yeah, I'd expect Barkley will come in for Hourihan. The only downside to that is, and I think people always overlook this with Hourihan, his set pieces are brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I think it was probably an underrated thing that kept us up last year, particularly after lockdown, because we scored a lot from set pieces and a lot were Hourihan deliveries. So that's the only thing we're going to probably lose from Hourihan going in the team. But, I think Barkley's going to add goals, assists. He's capable. I mean, he's England level, isn't he, on his day? And I think playing week in, week out for him is going to be a great thing. So I'm excited. I'm really excited about the Barkley signing because he's played at a level above Villa as well. So,
have you got any Villa players, Dan?
No.
Have you, Adam?
Well, I've got Steer, so I don't know.
No one cares about your budget shit reserve goalkeeper, mate.
I think the time to get them is, I think it's back game week 6, and then we've got a really good run in.
Is it Leicester you've got in game week 5, is it?
Yeah, Leicester. Then I think we've got Leeds at home in 6, and then it goes into quite a nice run.
All the Leeds boys will be for you now. You've said that now, mate.
Actually,
no, you're right. There is a decent run there. Leeds, Southampton, Arsenal. Yeah, them lot can come for me. Brighton, West Ham, Newcastle. It is a better run, and I think you're right. That's probably the right time to come and, with respect, no one's going to go and buy your players this week. That's not what we're here particularly to talk about. But where do you think, if you want to be there in a couple of weeks, and if I said to you now you can only have one, where do you think your mind would be leaning towards?
I think if you've looked at Martinez, but I think for me, there's quite a few options in defence. So I think, like I said, I like Konza for the goal threat. I think Mings is a little bit more. If I was going to put one in, I think it's hard to back against Grealish because I just think the other players are going to make him even better. Because what he lacked last season, and if you look at Watkins' movement, surely that's going to create space. Having Barkley, a completely fit John McGinn, Traore, who's got a bit of pace, what that's going to give is actually give Grealish space. Because in our first game and pretty much the most of last season, if you watch Grealish, it's like a fly with it flies on shit. It really is. Everybody just go, 3 or 4 players on him straight away. That's how good he is. He deals with it. And what will happen this year with the likes of Barkley, Watkins, they've got other players to worry about. So I think Grealish has got the potential to go on a new level. I think Barkley could be good because he's only 5.9 million, and I think we'll have penalties. And then Watkins is a good cheap striker. But if I was going for one, it's hard to back against Grealish.
Noted. Dan, how many Liverpool players you got at the moment?
3.
That's what, Salah, Trent, Robbo?
Yeah.
Salah caps in the weekend?
No, I don't think so.
Nah? Where do you think you're likely to go?
Jimenez.
Ooh.
Anyone playing Fulham is good enough for me.
Yeah, that's why we haven't really taken much notice of what Adam said, to be honest.
Honestly, yeah, but Fulham were terrible. They were, defensively, they're the whipping boys this season. So I agree on Jimenez. I mean, I'm taking Werner out to bring Jimenez in this week. So
there are. I already bought for Jimenez as well. There are 3 game weeks gone, and that's about the only solace I can give Fulham fans at the moment, I think, is that something in the next 5-6 days might change in terms of... They bought a good player today in Ademola Lookman, but they need some defensive ones very, very urgently.
Well, I think the reality is with COVID, both Fulham and West Brom, it's too risky to spend significantly. So they're just taking the money. They'll give it their best go. But I think you've got the two of the 3 teams that will go down there. Which is good news for Villa fans, obviously. But
yeah, absolutely.
How bad they were against us. I mean, I was pleased how ruthless we were early on, in particular, and the amount of decent gilt-edged opportunities we created. But they were they're very one-dimensional as well. Get it wide, cross from Mitrovic, and we defended him really well all night. Didn't give him a proper clean header on goal. So yeah, I was. Yeah, I think they're the ones to target. So I think the Jimenez shout is decent. That said, Salah's against Matt Target. And
have you got him, Adam? Salah?
No. I'm anti-Salah. So, no, I do plan to bring him in, particularly with the Pens back. I'm gonna wait till after the Everton game because they're usually 0-0s or quite tight encounters.
Like the 5-2 last year, yeah.
But at Goodison, they tend to, I think, has it been 2 0-0s back to back? And I think the one before that was a 1-0 right. Mane last minute. So I think Everton have looked decent. So I think I'm tempted to double up on defence. So I don't at the moment. So whether it's this week or next week, I think Robbo and Trent look too good to.
So you haven't got Mane either at the moment. I take it out.
No, I haven't. I've got loads of money in the bank, which is yeah. But I think I would have loved because I bought Bruno in for Mane game week 2, but then it sort of worked last week. So you just got to stick with them, I think.
Dan, on Jota, just before we finish up, he's 6.3 million. There is a little bit of a thinking at the moment for those who have only got, say, I don't know, just Trent, for example, at the moment. Is he a better option, for example, at 6.3 million, in your opinion, than, say, Ross Barkley at 5.9 at Villa, or someone of a comparable price, bearing in mind, in the majority of games, he's likely to get 20, 25 minutes at the end of a game for the best team in the league?
If it is the 20, 25 minutes, there's no enthusiasm coming, then no. I'd take Barkley at Villa over a 25-minute Jota any day of the week.
If there was an injury, heaven forbid, to a Mane or Salah who's going to play every week, he would have to be a very, very serious player for FPL, wouldn't he? Yeah. I think that's what we'd be waiting for.
Yeah.
My goodness. I mean, to be honest, anybody that's playing regularly in a front 3 for Liverpool, his capability, we would have bought him at that price for Wolves if we knew he was going to play more often, particularly in a front 2. It's obviously different system-wise at Liverpool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Diogo Jota, if something happened to one of those front 3 at 6.3 million, that's the other thing that puts me off that Liverpool treble up. I don't want to be in a position where I can't get to it. And I think a lot of people, to be honest, he's 1% owned. He's already lost 0.2. He'll probably lose a little bit more because a few people will buy him, then they'll sell him again. if it opens up, I think people will literally just steam into that. I don't think there'll be second thoughts. It won't even matter fixture. People will just go and do it. So I think that's one in the back of your mind for those on sort of Liverpool treble ups on that. It's just something to be a little bit cautious of going forward. The only one we haven't really spoke about, I don't want to speak about Matty Cash at the moment, Villa, Adam, because he's impressed so far. But it'd be interesting to see how he gets on with Mane. But we haven't spoken about Bertrand Traore. Do you think he's been brought to come into the 11? Potentially as Trezeguet's replacement?
Well, I think Trezeguet, since the end of last season, he was brilliant for the particularly, and he got 3 really key goals for us. But the big thing for Trezeguet is his work rate it's improved significantly. So I think he's been bought to come in for Trezeguet. That's what I think. But I think the big thing for Villa, and he's probably the only one that isn't guaranteed, in my opinion, to go in the starting 11. I think he'll work his way in because he's shown a little bit of quality in the matches that he's played so far. So I think, and he gives us a lot of pace as well. So I'd expect him to come in. But I think the other thing is with El Ghazi, Trezeguet, and Traore, we've actually got genuine competition for places. And I think that if you look at our bench this season, a lot of 4 or 5 of those players would have been in the starting lineup. So it's just a nice position to be in and to have the options and to keep people on their toes. I'm hoping we'll get another 1 or 2 in. I don't think it'll be any big names, but I think like a left back and possibly another centre back to cover Mings and Konsa. I think they'd be the places that we'd look. But it'd be good to get a couple of others in.
Go on then. Prediction for Sunday, Adam.
I think if we're going to win the league, we've got to win on Sunday. So no, I think Villa will score, but I think it'll be 3-1 Liverpool is what I would go for.
Dan.
I would say, I think Villa will score as well, and a 2 or 3-1. Yeah.
I think you keep clean sheet, actually.
0-0.
Adam, you don't want to go here.
I'll take that.
No, I think, to be honest, I'm really intrigued to see if you try again this idea of getting Grealish round Fabinho, for example, if he's going to play that position, which, assuming Thiago's not going to be unavailable, I'm guessing, then I presume it is Fabinho plays in that position again. I'm really interested to see that. So I think Villa might set up tactically a little bit different to what we used to because it worked really well last time.
Yeah, it did.
Or you look at it the other way and go, it's 2 wins from 2. You can debate what the issues are with the opposition later on. Is this a free swing? Let's just go for it, which would be great for Liverpool, by the way, if you do that. I think what you highlight there about the left back issue with Targett, that's the second time now you've spoke to me about Targett, and I think, okay, maybe he's not as good as I thought he was, and there's stuff I need to look out for more defensively. So I think Salah, we don't need to speak about Salah versus Mane and all that kind of thing. I think we already know, but I think those are thinking of captaining Salah this game will be encouraged by what you've said, Adam. I wouldn't particularly put them off. I think Liverpool will win this routinely. Probably 2-0 would be my prediction.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think the way Liverpool played the other night, we're going to have to be at our absolute best. And you know what? We might get a couple of handball decisions that go our way or something. But I think I can't see. I can see us putting in a decent performance. And I think, like I said, the games last year were both very competitive. I can see that happening. But Liverpool have just been so impressive at the start of the season. It would be a big shock if we do manage to come away with anything.
Are you more or less confident about the league now, Dan, than you were 3 weeks ago?
3 weeks ago, we didn't have Thiago, so more confident.
You should be more confident after you watch Monday night as well, and we could make a whole different podcast on what we watched Sunday.
You're quite sloppy, weren't they, Monday?
Listen, I don't want to mention Roy Keane because he'll come gunning for me or something, but I mean, well, different. He's touchy Klopp, but it's because he cares. I'm all right with it. Jurgen's okay with me.
I loved it. I thought it was great TV.
If he ever gets bored, Dan, he can come and manage my team. I know that. Right, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much, guys. Next week's Clash of the Correspondents, guys. will be with two teams who Adam really thinks will finish below him. It's the two teams that Adam's team has already beat this season. We'll be talking to FPL Blade and the Tinkermen. Looking forward to Sheffield United and Fulham in game week 5. It won't be the only one as well. We'll also get rotation FPL Gaffer on the week after to look forward to Chelsea and Southampton. So 2 C.O.T.Cs to look forward to before game week 5. Other than that, thanks very much, Adam. Thanks very much, Dan. Good luck this weekend. Cue music, please, man child.